Well, hi YouTubers, okay, I'm back on the Physics 100 books and Longbourn by Jill Baker. I'll read the blurb on the back. Elizabeth Bennet had been washing her own petticoats, Sarah thought. She would be more careful not to tramp through the muddy fields. It is wash day for the housemaids at Longbourn House, and Sarah's hands are chapped and raw. Domestic life below stairs, ruled with a tender heart and an iron will by Miss Hill, the housekeeper, is about to be disturbed by the arrival of a new footman, bearing secrets and the scent of the sea. This is such an original idea. Oh my good God. Pride and Prejudice from the server's point of view. Now, I know Jane Austen really, really well. I've read all her books, her letters, autobiographies of her life. I've lived in Winchester for 4 years, so I've gone past her where she passed away. I visit her grave in Winchester Cathedral, and I love Jane Austen, but I love this deconstruction of Pride and Prejudice. It is such an original idea, because obviously these people, these servants, they're on the outside looking in at the privileged world of the Bennet sisters, and obviously they are in the gutter looking up at the stars, and it's quite funny seeing the class differences come into play. And one thing I absolutely love about Jo Baker is she really manages to capture the world of Jane Austen in a way that I think few authors have. It's absolutely extraordinary. Her skill and detail of writing could easily be written by Jane Austen herself. Yeah, I'm actually saying that. This is an incredible book. An incredible book. Now, even the way it starts, okay? This bit here, this is when Miss Hill, or Mrs. Hill, the head of the household, if you will, is encountering Mrs. Bennet, okay? Mrs. Hill looked the dress over. Had the girls missed something? The silky yellow folds slipped through her hands. No marks that she could see, no fallen hems or pulled seams, no obvious tears. It seemed entirely that it had been when returned to Mrs. Bennet's wardrobe after its last laundering. There had been a particularly soupy supper at the Goldings. How girls had tutted over the gowns, how they steeped and soaked and teased the little spots out of the silk. She had been proud of them, capable little lawn dresses that they were. And she had felt that they were pleased with themselves too, when it had at last come up clean. And that was gratifying. They would begin to take proper pride in their work, rather than just getting through it, wishing they were somewhere else. I really must have something new, Miss Bennet was saying. Really I must, and so must all the girls. Surely that's not too much to ask after all these years. You shall have that hideous old thing. I don't want it any more. Miss Hill laid the gown carefully over her arm. There was a time it would have quickened her heart to think of her possessing something of such loveliness. But really now, what use were yellow silk and flounces to her? It would need taken up and taken, and it was seen as cut away, or she would catch fire when she was cooking. So it was really not much as a gift, as another job of work, and that was something that she did not need at all. It's terrible indeed, Hill. You have no notion of what it is to be a mother, and to know your children suffer for want of fatherly attention. Now, I'm actually going to spoil this book slightly, because it's been out for several years. I think it's safe to do so, okay? It came out in 2013, so it's good to spoil. This really exposes the hypocrisy of the world of Jane Austen. Now, the whole idea of Pride and Prejudice is our 5 Bennet sisters, and obviously Mr. Bennet, he required a son to inherit, as was the law at the time, and he never got one with his wife, Miss Bennet. And so over the years, their love has dwindled. They pretty much spend no time together. Miss Bennet is, depending on the version, but she's pretty much portrayed as flighty and demanding and complaining, and yeah, basically surrounded herself with frivolities, and she's not the most intelligent women. Whereas Mr. Bennet shuts himself up in his study because he basically has come to despise a woman who couldn't give him a son. Well, it turned out Miss Hill, okay, sired an illegitimate male child to Mr. Bennet, and Mr. Bennet essentially didn't care much of his son. He was kind of shipped out, and then during like a period of war, he came back in, and then there's this bit here. This is the closest we pretty much get. This is when James has pretty much walked out. I suppose you want me to send out search parties, scour the countryside. He pursed his lips. The young man has broken his engagement here, which is signed up for until the quarter day of the midsummer at least. It is quite inconvenient and wrong of him. We can assume he does not wish to be found, or he would not have left the way he did. The militia. Mr. Bennet dropped his voice. He looked up at her now. What would they want with him? He served his time honourably, did he not? He was not gone long enough. He went still staring at her. Not to have been discharged, he said, not unless he was crippled beyond use. A deserter then. You could just write at each other. They just looked at each other in silence. You could just write, she said. You could write to Colonel Foster. What did I have to achieve? Just to know wherever he has been taken. He lifted a paper from his desk, adjusted his business. You wish me to write to that gentleman and asked if they happened to have my bastard in their custody. Your manservant. What will people think if I did even that? What will people say? Mr. Smith makes his own decisions and his own mistakes. He's a grown man, after all. Who might interfere? He's a grown man now. Miss Hill thought. He has not always been, but there was no point opening all that up and picking through it again, so he just curtsied and as she always did and turned away. She went out of the library and left the door standing wide open. Door standing wide. That kind of thing. It really exposes the hypocrisy of Mr. Bennet to even do such a thing in the first place. So, a lot of authors will paint Mr. Bennet as being kind of like this poor guy who basically has lost the love of his wife, but his actions basically make you despise him due to his actions relating to Miss Hill and their own son. He couldn't acknowledge their son, and he married Mrs. Bennet instead because of her land and her title and her money, and obviously that's all gone now. So, yeah. So one thing I absolutely love is for us to actually read Austen, it also pokes kind of fun at some of the actions that Jane Austen actually took. Little things like Mr. Collins marrying Charlotte Lucas, when even the servants themselves turn around again and say, why don't you just marry Mary? She's the quiet one. You know, they'd probably be happy together, but no, he doesn't. You know. I mean, and it also kind of pokes fun at the time period and what women of a certain class are expected to do. You have Sarah, this is basically her story, who is a servant of, obviously the Bennet sisters. And her juxtaposition of her world, the sisters go out to these stunning parties and fapperies and, you know, do needlepoint and that kind of stuff and fret about love and marriage. Juxtaposed a person, okay, basically cleans their petticoats, okay, who scrubs their floors. Yet the Bennet sisters do complain quite a bit throughout this text. There's this bit here, okay. Jane bore it well, considering that she would have to sit and wait, and be beautiful, and sit and wait and be in love, sit and wait until Bingley shook off his sisters and returned to claim her. That was how things worked for young ladies like Jane Bennet. Sarah's position was quite different. She did not have Jane's loveliness, or gentleness, or £1,000 in the 4%. She did not have in her thoughts that one clear and certain word which seemed to be the answer to all questions and to end all uncertainties, if it did not bring happiness and remained forever unspoken, love. She had nothing, in short, that she could cling to, that she could rely on to entice a man away from his delights and opportunities that were offered elsewhere. But what she did have was an invitation to go after him. So, but essentially, Sarah, she kind of falls for James Smith, and it is this kind of juxtaposition between the two different worlds, and I absolutely adore this book. That's the thing, I really, really adore this book. See, Pride and Prejudice as a text has been interpreted many, many times. Many different versions. Hey, there's even a Mormon version of Pride and Prejudice. Seriously. There's Clueless. Clueless is Emma. Clueless is Emma, thank you. Sorry. But obviously, Austen's texts, all of them, have been interpreted in very, very different ways. So this was a stellar reinterpretation of Jane Austen's original Pride and Prejudice. It really kind of gives the nuance of what is truly going on behind the pomp and ceremony and pleasantries to the blatant hypocrisy of what it meant to be a woman in Regency England, especially a working class woman in Regency England. So, recommend this book. Please enjoy as much as I did. To Joe Baker, congratulations. And Hey, take care here, YouTubers. Visit site 100 book sign off. And bye now.